everybody, it's Sean from Retro Games Revived, and this video is my video response to Pete Fighter 2's topic of games, genres, series, franchises of the gaming world. And I've got to be honest, I think a lot of people would agree this one is a lot harder than the one that we did in response to David Retro Plays Games Badly, the one that the games and stuff that we hate. This one, I really did have a long list, and I've whittled it down to 5, and that seems to be the standard, 5. So I'm going to start off with something from the 8-bit era. To me, it was true definition of a 2D platformer. Some were hard as nails, but you just kept going back for more. And in my opinion, this guy, he should have been the official mascot of ZX Spectrum. And I'm talking about Monty Mole. If you haven't heard of Monty Mole, he was a mole. His name was Monty. It was created by a guy called Peter Harrop, and all the games were published by a software house called Gremlin Graphics. I believe they were based in Sheffield at the time. Monty Mole, he is a miner by trade, and he sports a monocle throughout the series, except for his last game, which they changed his character basically. It wasn't the Monty Mole that everybody knew, but I'll get onto that a bit later on. There was actually 6 games created in the Monty Mole series, although one of them was short and it was created purely for a magazine cover tape. But anyway, I'll start with the first game in the series, Wanted Monty Mole, and this was what kicked off the series, and it was created in response to the British miners' strike in the 80s, and he goes round, he collects coal to keep his family warm. That's the storyline. It's a single screen platformer, and it does get quite hard. It's typical of the time, lots of just random enemies and obstacles littered around the screens and the platforms. And the first screen, you make your way across. I'm not sure if you pick up a bucket, and then you have to go back across. I think it's like a little lake, and you're chased by a human miner, and it's reportedly Arthur Scargill, like a dig or a skit at Arthur Scargill, who was he was a prominent speaker. I think he was the main union guy at the time of the miners' strike, and that is reportedly what it is. It's supposed to be Arthur Scargill. Right, secondly in the series, Monty is Innocent, and this was probably one of the weak games of the series. Monty's been sentenced to 5 years in prison for stealing a bucket of coal. Quite harsh, but you know, this is the gaming law, and you take control of a little character. It's a Stoat, and he's named Sam Stoat, and he's been given the task. He's Monty's best friend, and he's been given the task of helping Monty to escape the prison. Well, it isn't a very long game, that, and it comes away really from the 2D platform element. It's kind of, how can I put it? It's pseudo 3D. Anyway, it weren't a great game, if I'm honest. Thirdly, this was one of the best of the series, and that's Monty on the Run. And he's on the run from the authorities, after the intervention of the miners' strike, and he must escape his house and head for the English Channel and escape to the freedom of Europe. Monty on the Run went back to the 2D platform element. This time when you jumped, he did a roll. It made it a bit more fluid actually, and the design of the platform, the screens was a lot better. On the Commodore 64, the soundtrack by Robobud is well known and is regarded as one of the best scores from Robobud. Next, fourth in the series, is Auf Wiedersehen Monty, and this time Monty travels around Europe collecting money to buy a Greek island called Montos to safely retire. And for me, this was the best in the series. I didn't have this on Spectrum, I had this on Commodore 64. Rock hard game. This time they did away with the rolling. When you jumped, they did away with the roll. I believe it just kind of, in a way, flew across a little bit. But it did gain this ability when you stood still and you press jump. It kind of like a trampoline, it bounces higher and higher. And that's how you can get to other screens. Again, it was the same as the first and the third one, 2D platform, single screen. And again, it's very notorious for the soundtrack on the Commodore 64, and that was a collaboration between Robobud and Ben Daglish. Next we have the cover tape, and it was just it was a small game, and it's called Merry Christmas Monty. And basically Monty is responsible for getting code for the latest game from the programmers to feature on the cover of your Sinclair magazine. And that's all it was. It was just a short game that they made to feature on the cover tape. And then lastly, we've got Impossible. And this was made quite a while after all these other games. They remade Monty basically as a cape-clad superhero recruited by aliens to retrieve their sacred scrolls. And the video I've shown you is from the PC Engine version, and you know, it looks good, it looks colourful enough. It's just not Monty. He's lost his monocle, they did away with that, and you know, they turned him into a bit of a superhero, and it's just not Monty. Monty is a miner. And I suppose when I go back to how games used to get away with relating to just everyday life and what were going on around the world at the time, obviously Monty was originally brought about because of the miners' strike, quite a controversial subject in Britain at the time. Still could be actually. It was Peter it was a bedroom code, I would imagine. Just you know, he coded it at home, sent it to Gremlin Graphics, they've took it on board. But you know, a lot of it's tongue in cheek. I like that. I like how it's the humour. The humour back then were a bit more relaxed. But yeah, that's the first one. I've got them written down on my laptop here, that's why I'm reaching over. So second games that I love, well, it has to be Shenmue for me. Absolutely brilliant game, both of them. And I'm really looking forward to Shenmue 3, which I believe will conclude the series. And I think they showed a preview of it at the latest E3, and it looks good. It don't look amazing, but it looks good. But it's not really about how it looks. The Shenmue story, if you don't already know, it's about a young lad, Rio, and his father is killed in front of his very eyes by Landy, and it's basically a tale of revenge. and how it's done. It's not real time, but it's stuff you have to do, just mundane everyday chores. You have to find a job, you have to become a forklift driver, and you have to talk to people, you have to find things out, you have to fight. There's quick time events. There's even an arcade where you can play arcade, hang on, and Space Harrier. And a lot of the time I just used to load Shenmue just to play in the arcade on Space Harrier. But it's just immense. It's epic. And yeah, the voice acting is pretty naff. But I think that's the charm about it. And I love the series. And I can't wait for the third one to come along. So that's my second one, Shenmue. I don't know how it's pronounced correctly. Third is Resident Evil. It was the first ever game that actually made me jump. And I don't mind admitting that. The dogs jumping through a window on that corridor frightened the life out of me. And I think if a game can do that, then, you know, it's been executed well. I remember getting it for the PS1 at the time, and I was just blown away by it. The graphics, yeah, the pre-rendered backdrops, but they look really good. And again, the voice acting, it's rubbish, but I'm not bothered. I like it. It's part of the game. And yeah, and the one thing that I always remember, and I couldn't actually at the time, I'll admit it, I couldn't actually do the bit with the spiders, the giant spiders. Ugh. I had to get my mate to do it. I couldn't do it. I was frightened to death. But yeah, it just keeps you on edge. The music, the atmosphere. But to me, the first four, I would say the first four are the reason for me including this. I know there's a lot more in the series, but to be honest, I'm not a massive fan of the later ones. I have given some of them a go, and they don't seem to capture my attention like the first four did. So that's the third one, Resident Evil. Now the fourth one, if I'd have done all these separately, then it'd have been my 5 straight off. Basically, I've classed them all as one. And my fourth choice is Sega Super Scalars. And by Super Scalars, I'm talking about games like Outrun, Afterburner, Space Harrier, Hang On, Super Hang On, Galaxy Force, and Radmobile. Those are the main ones that stand out. Super Scalars are, at the time, it was like a new technique. Before they had polygons and tricks like that, we had scaling. And basically how it works is you start off with a sprite and you scale the sprite either smaller or larger. And at the time all these came out, the main lure, if you like, was the cabinets that they came in. Outrun had the big Ferrari cabinet, it moved side to side. Space Harrier, we had, you know, full motion. Afterburner, excuse me, one of the cabinets it did that motion. Hang On, you know, there was a motorcycle. Power Drift, again similar to Outrun, except a little bit more movement because the game was more like a roller coaster. Galaxy Force, you had a big cabinet which rotated 360 degrees, and Radmobile was another racing game in the style of Outrun, and Radmobile was actually the first time that you got to see Sonic the Hedgehog. It was basically like a swinging pendant from the top of the screen. But yeah, the Super Scalars, they were fantastic. For me in particular, I was from that era. I was a teenage lad when these games came out. I used to go to Bridlington with my mates, and we used to go to the arcades there, and these kind of games were in abundance. They drew large crowds at the time because they were really new and unique. Fourth in the list is Sega Super Scalars. And fifth, again, I had to kind of whittle this down because I'm gonna give a few worthy mentions at the end. But for me, this just edged it, and the reason being, it's one of the latest generation games that I can actually do. And I'm talking about the Uncharted series. Great acting, you know, it's very movie-like. You've got different elements to the game: puzzle, action, shooting, quick time even. There's a lot to it, and they really are gorgeous games. The graphics are gorgeous on them. The witty, the funny, the serious, sad. It's got everything. All four of the Uncharted series I love. I really do. I've played them all the way through. Like I said, a lot of these new generation games I can't complete. They're just too tricky for me. But Uncharted, I have been able to do, and I've completed them all, and that's why I've put this on the list, because there's four of them as well, and each and every single one, in my opinion, has been brilliant. So I'm just going to finish off with a few worthy mentions. Football Manager is one of them from the 8-bit days. I know I said I'm not into sports games, but I did like Football Manager. It weren't too in depth, and although some of the games it were a bit of luck, you didn't feel that at the time, you know. And it were a great game. Kevin Toms was the creator of Football Manager games, and yeah, they were really good. Next is a Medal of Honor games, mainly on the PS2, but the one on the PS3 is it Warfighter. Yeah, I do like them. I like first person shooters, especially World War II. Medal of Honor were just right down my alley with those. I just felt that the other games were more polished and have a place in my heart a lot more. Next is The Last of Us. Cracking game, absolutely brilliant game, brilliant acting. I know a lot of people say it's more of a film or more of an entertainment kind of game, but I disagree. I think there's more than enough action for you to get involved in, but it's just a good storyline. I mean, at the beginning, when he loses his daughter, that's so powerful. Really, it's for a game, you know. It really does tweak at your heartstrings, and his gradual relationship with Ellie, you know. I'm really looking forward to the sequel, which should be out within the next year. But yeah, such a great game. And then lastly, Call of Duty World War II. I mentioned that, it might be the last video or one of my videos, that it is one of my favourite games of all time. It is. But for me, I really, for that to have been in my top 5, I would have preferred it to be more of a series. So I would have wanted to have enjoyed all of the Call of Duties and have that in the series. Call of Duty World War II is very realistic, and like I said, I loved it. But I just didn't feel it warranted to be in my top 5. And that is it. That's my video response to the games or genres or series that I love. So that's it for this video, and let me know your thoughts, comment below, and please like and subscribe if you haven't done already. Anyway, until next time, see you later.